we're not all the same. You know, the Black and brown experience is not the same for every single individual, but collectively we have a huge story to tell.
I came to Oswego in 1970 in the first EOP class, and that in and of itself was a culture shock for the campus, as there were 150 of us on campus in a place that didn't necessarily want us.
Born and raised in Long Island, New York. Coming upstate, I met a lot of Long Islanders, but also found just how a reflection of me wasn't present in what America is.
I understood and learned how to be a Black man in a predominantly white institution and a predominantly white city.
When I got to Oswego, I realized that it's a lot different from Brooklyn, New York.
Where you came from somewhere where you were the same, now you're very different from everybody around you.
There was a lot of controversy about having EOP students who are considered academically and financially disadvantaged. Did we belong here? And that was the question.
I didn't see myself in any of my professors. I barely saw myself in any of my classes.
What you realize is in most cases, it was like 1 or 2 Black students that were in the classes.
Can't say for sure that I was the only Black or brown student in my philosophy major, but it definitely did feel that way, since I was the only Black person I have seen in my entire major.
I used to call it the Oprah experience, where there'd be a Black question and everyone would kindly turn to me.
From questions such as, why do all the Black students sit together in the dining hall? To, did you really write that paper?
It put me in uncomfortable situations, but uncomfortable situations that I know that I would have to deal with once I left Oswego.
Although I thoroughly did value the curriculum and the teachings that I learned, I've never fully felt empowered to contribute in most of my classes.
If and when there were the times that we grouped up with other students that were not of Black or brown, you felt that sometimes they were assigning you a portion where they felt that you you weren't capable of accomplishing or answering or playing an important role.
It gave me a clear cut of what my workplace would look like after college.
And how to confidently navigate my way regardless of what I could see around me.
Giving me the push to change the things that I'm not okay with.
To seek individuals who would point me in the right direction to achieve my goals in all areas.
But most importantly, it actually taught me how to be, like I said, a professional student, as it was the stepping stone to be a professional.
It's where I realized that everything that I do, say, feel, and value isn't just about me.
It fired me up, and it gave me that sense of drive and passion to just want to succeed, to just want to do better, because I knew that I was not just representing me, but I was representing my community.
We did not come to college for a handout. We came to Oswego to engage in the academic community with our hearts and our minds. But many of us were first generation and did not know what to expect. And some of us did not have the tools or wherewithal to know what to do. And some of us did not have a voice because the risk might have been too high.
So when I think about representation, that really does matter, mainly because representation can speak to the things that are intangible, and that's exactly what a professor, from what I remember, the only Black professor that I've had, Dr. Moody, was able to capture.
I could think of 2 men of color. One was Dr. Marshall, who still to this day kind of follows up with me, and the second was Dr. Uyi Uswanlili, and I learned a great deal from him as well. He actually served as like a mentor for my capstone, and so when I think about representation, you kind of gotta find folks within your department who look like you, and it's rare.
As I grew from my undergraduate program through my graduate program, the Black and brown community did in fact grow. I don't think the faculty and staff within Rich Hall represented that.
I was a non-traditional student. There wasn't a lot of people within the department of graduate studies that looked like me. There was probably one professor in the entire department that I remember. So I think that kind of shaped the education that I got.
I cannot recall one experience with a psychology professor whom was Black.
I had one faculty of color my entire undergraduate career for my major specifically. And I think that really didn't allow me to see myself beyond the classroom.
Truth is that there is more room in the curriculum to include modern teachings of Black philosophers like W.E.B. Du Bois, Hubert Harrison, William Fontaine.
Black entrepreneurs or business owners like Robert Smith, Madam C.J. Walker, or Reginald Lewis.
I can say that the communications department does a good job in covering different parts of communication, especially intercultural. I think that's very important. But I think that class, the students in that course still hadn't experienced that intercultural.
The teachers that are there that are people of color, and it made me respect them so much more just because they're making that change, although they are the minority, but they make an impactful change.
Patricia Clark, Kenneth Marshall, Uwe Uswanlili, Adrian Morton, Geraldine Forbes, Lisa Langlois, Maureen Curtin, Kathy Santos, Howard Gordon, Magdalena Rivera.
The unfortunate strain it is for the few faculty of color that we are all flocking desperately for support from these professionals. And Lord knows there's no compensation for that. Or are you even capable of holding a load so heavy? But that's what we've all been doing, right? Holding loads much greater and much heavier than ourselves in order to get the job done, whether it's being a professor or whether it's being a student.
I think if our faculty truly wanted to understand the Black and Brown experience, they would see how valuable these organizations were to us, and they would hopefully better understand why our culture and our communities help sustain us.
Oswego breeds the best leaders, and Oswego has for sure groomed and shaped the leader in me. There were, and I'm sure still are, ample leadership opportunities on campus to become involved, where I have not only exercised delegating and people management, but also emotional intelligence, which I esteem to be the best intelligence of them all.
I realized that over a period of time, my interpersonal skills really started to improve because I started to ask difficult questions, stand up for what I believe, explore the unknown, and be accountable for my actions. More importantly, though, was my questioning of authority.
I was a first-generation college student, so I didn't have a blueprint in front of me. I kind of had to do it on my own. But with the community I had at Oswego, I realized that I was raised by a village.
The community that we created amongst ourselves, where we couldn't turn anywhere else, is what sustained me as a student at SUNY Oswego. The Alana organization, BSU, ASO, LSU, all those student organizations, as well as an organization I represented, 2.5, as well as the Women's Center. Those organizations that truly work toward educating, and truly what we did really was peer support.
For my Alana peers, even though the quantity of us was low, the quality of our friendships and our connections were major, enough to really sustain my all 4 years of Oswego. They were literally my family, they were my home. It's where I found solace, familiarity, recognition, acceptance, Black and Brown joy, validation, and most importantly, affirmation.
Usually there would be a level of like excitement that's you can't really explain in words when you would see, you know, somebody who's of your skin and kin together. So to be quite honest, what held it together were my Black and Brown friends.
The Alana Leadership Conference at the beginning of the year, BSU's variety show, the Latino Student Union's dinner, the African Student Organization's Pan-Africa Night, the Caribbean Student Association's May Day.
Being a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, that helped sustained me on campus, the brotherhood, right? The ability where I felt like I could relate, helping our community, impacting change.
It definitely showed me the importance of a chosen family and what that means and what it looks like today.
It also let me know what I needed to learn and educate myself about in order to be an advocate for my community as well.
The challenges that we faced with finding ourselves somewhere where we were scarce is where we truly did learn how to become leaders, where we truly did learn how to be a village, become a village, be a productive village member. That's where we gained all these skills that made us who we are today.
Where I would like to have seen more support may not even have been for me, but for my peers, for those that were not part of the EOP program. I think I would have enjoyed seeing those services mirror on the general admission side, because there were other students, my friends, my peers, for example, let's say another first generation Black or brown student who didn't have the blueprint as to how to succeed in a predominantly white institution.
And that goes right into what EOP did. It did let us tell our story. It did speak to us when we needed to be spoken to. We were never questioned about who we are or where we came from or why we're doing what we're doing. When we needed help, we knew we could ask without shame. I knew that when I was in denial, somebody would slap me upside the head and say, be truthful. And that's what sustained me for 50 years on this campus, is EOP.
The academy has to change. And with that change comes a better education for all students. And so anti-racist campus looks like change.
An anti-racist campus is a campus that systemically dismantles institutionalized racism.
It's a campus full of faculty and staff who are not only prepared to call out microaggressions, but are committed to check their own.
Where Black and brown students can express and seek their needs without being met with opposition.
Black students being so confident in their voices that they speak up when it matters.
Eliminating racism, changing systems, organizational structures that exist on campus, policies, practices, attitudes.
Mandatory inclusion and diversity programming.
Everybody's going to have the same seat, the same voice. Everybody's going to have the same opportunity.
A campus that doesn't wait until someone is murdered, doesn't wait until the federal administration is separating families and caging children to take action.
Holding those people accountable who have been on social media bashing the Black students at SUNY Oswego, holding the people accountable who were tabling Build a Wall and MCC, holding the people accountable who were throwing eggs at Black students walking home from parties.
More diverse employees and faculty and opportunities for young professionals to become teachers there and professors and assistants.
Curriculum, actually having curriculum that reflects the young people that are sitting in front of us.
To strive for a campus that meets the ideals of anti-racism requires a commitment by all members of the community, the campus community, faculty, staff, and students, to do the work that anti-racism requires.
Provides a space for healing, right? From students who have been called all types of names off campus.
It calls out the elephant in the room. No matter how uncomfortable it may be, it's uncomfortable being Black.
No Black student should have to walk down the street and be called a nigger from the window of a resident.
It doesn't look dated. It looks like we're moving forward. We're reimagining what existing spaces look like.
And what this work requires, first and foremost, is an affirmation of the multiple identities students and faculty bring to Oswego, and to see these identities reflected in the curriculum and in the classroom.
I've been in Oswego for almost 50 years, and what I've learned from being in Oswego, both on the campus as well as in the community, is that there are still so many challenges we have to face, and we have to take that responsibility to find the solutions to those problems. They're ongoing, and it's our job to move the future ahead.